plenty of rain.
Okay, this is the Williams County Board of Commissioners meeting. It's September the 19th, 10:30 a.m. Roll call, please.
Jim Marlowe.
Present.
Brent Gentry. Jackson.
Present.
All right, first thing under, is there any old business that we need to talk about before we move on?
I don't have it.
Okay. Under new business, we have a quote for the 2023 Dodge Ram 2500. This is for the EMA and this is for Enterprise.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're switching out one of the Ford or the Explorers. Is it for the
Correct.
3/4 ton truck? Am I missing anything here?
No, sir.
Okay, but what it requires is board approval.
It does, sir.
Okay, so for all I'm concerned, I think that we get it.
We're thinking.
It was not the Explorer, it was the Escape.
The escape.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Whatever.
No, I don't care. It's fine.
It was just the SUV for another truck.
Gotcha.
So that both the deputy director and the director both have pickup trucks.
Okay.
So with that being said, someone want to make a motion to approve that?
Second.
Jim Marlowe.
Yeah,
Brent Gentry.
Yes.
And Jackson.
Yes.
there you go.
Do I have permission to let Ashley know that it's been moved?
Sure. Yeah. I called Ashley this morning after you guys left. And, I thought he'd be here by now. He was on the road somewhere, but anyway, yeah. No, you're good to go.
I'll send an email. Thank
So, all right. Good
Thank
deal.
you.
All right. Other than that, it's our first day of budgeting. And anybody have anything they want to start out with or anything they want to say about this year? Or if not, I mean, honestly, I think that this year, there's a couple things that I'd like to look at. I think you've got a couple of ideas from that to look at, you know, as far as some of the things that we need to look at. But honestly, I'd like to kind of start out with what would be some county needs that in moving forward this year. I've got a couple that I would like to just throw out there as an idea. Goals that I'd like to see the county acquire moving forward. And usually you don't reach your goals unless you plan for it. One of them would be a new animal control building. We had talked about that years past. Terry Watts and I went and viewed the animal control building in Franklin County, and it was very nice. It was basically a glorified pole barn, but it was nice. They had two entrances where, like garage door entrances, where they could come in, close the door, unload the animal. If the animal got out, the animal wasn't going. They had a drainage track in the middle where they could wash the vehicles out, close it out, it all drained. They had the heating elements that looked like this, gas-fired heating elements that take care of all the stuff. It was, I won't say it's state of the art, but it was pretty close to state of the art. And I thought, you know, then they made it a lot easier to clean each animal pen they had. There were some things that Terry and I saw that could be improved upon, you know, as far as and I don't know how they could be improved upon other than using some plastic hinges of some sort. Because when they wash out these things, some of the pins and the hinge areas were starting to rust, you know. So how could we overcome that? I don't know. Take care of it, you know, anything like that. But it's an idea, and I thought, you know, we talked about it a while back. We do have the property that's centrally located in Williamson County. That was one of the key things why we traded for that property. And I just think now, you know, we also get back to start budgeting for it. And I don't know what would that be.
I've always thought we need one.
And because that's one department, man, if you go out there to see that office that they have, and it's tiny and it's run down. We don't own that building.
And you're limited on how many dogs you can have out there, very, very limited. We're taking on more and more towns and more and more dogs. Which is, I've always thought that we should get one. I think we ran some numbers one time, but that was a long time.
Yeah.
200,000, maybe.
I'm gonna say 250, but I don't know for sure. But anyway, so that's kind of one thing I had in mind, along with a storage building. Now, I don't know if I build them back to back. You might want to separate them somehow where the smell or the animal control, if there is an odor. Honestly, I didn't smell an odor whenever I would eat the animal control.
We talk about that property like
Yeah,
the U shape,
yeah,
and then, but then have animal control.
and
I would say priority, if I was gonna pick one, it'd be animal control, without doubt. Because they can take it away from us any day they want to. Pay $1, pay $1. They get a property, it's over. You don't want to be in that position.
we can't really make adjustments out there. So we tried that. I contacted, what's in that corporation? General Dynamics, and they are so diverse. They don't know how many properties they own actually. And I was put in contact with someone that's down in Florida at their main headquarters. So it's very difficult to deal with these people. And being that we don't own the property or anything, I think we need to finally get that under our belt.
It's a tough position to be in.
As far as the storage goes, I'm looking at storage like another, just basically a pole barn, glorified pole barn that would be climate controlled, that you could put Amanda stuff in there, the election equipment. We could house the what is the MOC?
Yeah,
Benny's got that MRAP, and I know we have other material out here, Bunny Bread, for anything office that could be climate controlled. Just an idea.
This is what we talked about before, so you'd have, like each one have individual storage, because you can't have, everybody have their own keys. You're like, man, over here, and you would park your vehicle down here at the end, okay? And then you'd have over here, you have other offices. They have a key to theirs, but you don't want to intermingle offices into one big building like the Bunny Bread building. Everybody had their own little compartment, their own area. And then you park the building down here, they'd be under a kind of roof. And that's what we talked about a long time ago, I don't know.
Yeah. And
So you're talking about having the MOC on an exterior location, just like covered area. Problem with that is security. You'd be able to maintain security.
well, we would figure that in and maybe have it
It's fenced in.
fenced in to where it'd be like an automatic gate that you had a code or a fob that can access it, something like that. Much like the morgue is the way it's set up.
You have a lot of things storing more, or you pretty much got enough room. Just curious. You have a storage, building your own.
I mean, I don't think any of our departments need storage. She has storage or something, or those things in the basement.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not required to keep stuff as long as what a man does.
Of course, certain clerks now put stuff on, they're not having papers up all the way more than they're starting.
But because it's centrally located, I think it would be a great spot to do something. But once again, it comes back to planning for it. And so I just want to throw that out there. And so I was going to say about that. I did talk to Travis. I know it was a little, the way it was done, I wasn't here when it was done before, but the road going to the shooting range was put in by the highway department. Now, on our property, there is a road bed there. We got actually a couple different access points to our property. One is off of 37, and one is off, as soon as you turn in the back way to go into like towards the morgue, there is a gate right there in that fence. A lot of people don't realize there's a gate right there. but there is one, and we can go this direction to our property. It goes behind Mr. Winter's property, his barn. So because we own on the backside of his barn. So, and I asked Travis, I said, do you think if there's a possibility the highway department could establish that road? He said, well, it all depends. And I get it. I told Travis I don't want to put him between a rock and a hard place. So basically we left it. If it's possible, yeah, they would. If not, I understand, and we'll budget, for having that road go in as well. But there is a gravel base there right now. It's just been overgrown. It's hard, you really can't see it drive out there. But I think it's a great place for, at least for animal control and possibly for a new storage facility for the entire county. I got anything else on that?
No, it looks like we need to do, if we're gonna do something like that, we need to do some planning.
Planning is the key.
All it takes money.
It's gonna take money.
So in doing so, what we plan for is set certain amount back. What that is, I don't know. I don't know if we want to do it in 1 year, we want to do it in a couple of years. So
But I'll tell you, on the jail, we did this same thing. We did 200,000, this not same caliber, but $200,000 a year. We had the stimulus money, which is $435,000, we got every year for 30 years. That, so there was no tax increase or state tax. So we planned 200. They'll bring them money.
Right.
now, let's not forget, we do have that leftover money from I don't know what that is.
It's 200 grand or so. Something you have to know about your head.
$257, $356.23.
257.
Yeah,
There's still one or two loans that are outstanding.
We still have, did we make our transfer into capital improvement?
yeah. I mean, right now that trust has $253,592 in it. But granted, you had money put back for all these, enterprise cars, and we're getting our first one like this week. So
Yeah, right. So that's good.
there's,
Is that your Hummer?
yeah, sure, yeah.
As far as moving forward, I think, we saw a couple emails, exchanges from Kim. One of the things that I think we all want to look at are our fine fee schedule. I think that's something that we talked about last year, but I don't think we did last year. We need to look at our minimum fund balances.
Yeah, I'd like to look at the general fund. Minimum fund. I think we're 4 months now. Be nice to get that up to 6 months.
And the reason for the 6 month is because, believe it or not, the state doesn't always come through. There's been times in the past, when you look at the historical information from the state, there have been a lot of times where the state does not come through with their payment to the county. So can't always depend upon the state, even though things look good. There may be reasons that come up that in the past there have been, whether it be COVID, whether it be in times past where, because of politics, there was no budget. state budget. Remember that year we had a budget for 6 months, and we had a budget cuts.
Absolutely. They couldn't do anything after this, it's just dysfunctional.
So anyway,
And we need to look at sled loan.
paying off the sled loan.
It's right here.
Your target balance is for all these special funds. If you get them.
It's all in there.
Yeah.
It's coming.
We're on camera. We're-
We were just talking about just various things. We got EMA out of the way, so, I mean, if you're good. You got something else, you don't feel like you have to stay.
Yes, sir. They approved the record
Good enough.
as the one that
They replace the short balance of state.
Is that gonna be the only, I've not heard anybody else, that'd be the only change from.
That's the only one. Everybody else was fine with what they were.
they leave college.
So,
And
I do want to say one thing, I guess it's budgets last year and before, we said, we dilly that around, wait on Ken to come on Zoom. It's no secret that I don't agree with that. So we pay that firm to work for us, we don't work for them, and they should be right in this room. Their job is Zoom crap, needs to end. She said last year, December, she'd be done with it. She's still gonna do everything on Zoom. That's a disservice. It's ridiculous for this county. And when she's talking, we can't hear us talking. It's an echo, a back and forth. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Just remember, she worked for us. So we control that, but control herself, so. You buddy, take care.
So is there anything anybody else wants to start out with? While we wait for Cam to come on. I'd like to go over the sales tax and all the taxes, tax revenues, and whenever she comes on. She sent us that information, the estimated sales tax revenue. I don't know if she has the final notes. Did you have the final?
Final for what?
Estimating the revenue?
No, because I mean, like you just mentioned, those are 3 months behind.
Yeah.
So the
Okay,
she made, well, I'm trying to look here. I hadn't really looked.
you could do a
Detailed one.
estimate.
She's estimated, I mean, 100,000 on both of those. Prior years. Yeah.
You have, is it TIF one rolling off this year?
Yes.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong on this, because this is the first time we've had to deal with a TIF increase. That will also be considered new property, like new growth as well.
It's based on what Amanda and Alex decided, but in the past, precedent has been that any tip that rolls off is considered new growth for all the tax bodies in the county. So you have your 5% plus this $44 million increase as new growth.
That 44 million doesn't all come from the county.
Well, I mean, the new growth is,
The new growth does,
but you get your percentage.
right, which is approximately 20%.
Based on anyone. 22. That's 21, and you're 26 million, 846. Or payable 22,
Yeah.
or whatever new growth plus what this needs to be.
That 26,846,320.
Well, but that's just your new
That's
growth
the-
right here. Well, that was this is you'll have regular new growth plus all of this.
You're looking at the TIF district.
Yeah.
Hey, Kim.
Good morning.
We were talking about the TIF.
Okay.
This is the first year that I think we have a TIF roll off, if I'm not mistaken.
You're correct.
Is, I mean, Mike, is this $730,000? If you
Yes.
take increase times the rate? Yeah, right. That tip information, is this 44,088,848, is that the increase in new property?
That was as of sometime in 21. We do need to get an updated report for that.
Okay. But I mean, if you take that times the current rate, that's $730,000.
Yeah, I think that would be about right. But let me check one thing.
Over 5%.
Oh, I know what I'm thinking of.
Apple iPhone does not go to the, so
They got-
I can't try to type in the.
I could phone you
Well,
Samsung?
I was gonna bring up
my Android goes to billions.
doesn't?
You rich folks, because those, us poor folks.
Put two phones together.
I got the calculator in my desk.
Oh, wait a minute. if you turn it sideways, it will. Okay.
Not enough space.
I like that. Yeah. Sorry.
I
I never had to type in $1 billion number. Yes.
Weird and slow.
You probably figure that. Not too big.
So based off of, I mean, just that alone, that's an extra 730,000. Off of the new growth. And that's from the 20 payable 21 tax year, so it's not even current. You're going to have 5% on top of that. Just the budget.
Not this.
That's the old antique.
I turned it sideways on
Yes, I see where you're getting that number, Ashley, and I just think we have to use, to get a little bit more accurate, we have to have an updated TIF1 report. So I can email Janice to get that. Now, the other thing, you're using the 21-22 rate, right, Ashley?
Yes.
Okay, so the rate will go up
Right.
next year, so we will have to allow for CPI.
I was just trying to ballpark something.
Uh-huh. So that would be 1.74. Eight, so let me do that. Okay, so with using the other increases in rate that I think are going to happen next year, I think that number may be closer to 825.
It's beside the new growth, correct?
Well, it would be beside, I guess, what you would consider the organic new growth. I mean, because this is just a roll off from an existing tip, and whatever's organically grown from, you know, in the past year that Alice would be adding on, that's outside of tip one.
Outside of TIF one, yeah.
Which, I mean, I guess if you want to look at, I can't. Kim, can you tell me or remember in 20 payable 21 or 21 payable 22, and maybe you know those, was there a tip that rolled out either one of those that would have added to this new
I
property?
don't remember. I thought
calculation?
we had a smaller chip roll off.
There was a golf course tip rolled out. I can't remember.
I don't remember
what
when.
year that was. So even if you only use a low number, you had, assuming that the tip was included in 20 million. Organically grew. I mean, in essence, you could be looking at 64 or 65 million.
And we were just, we started out just going over a couple things. I addressed a couple of county needs that I thought that I'd like to see us attain through planning, a new animal control facility, possibly a new storage facility. I know we mentioned looking at our ordinance fees, fine and fee schedule, see if we need to make some adjustments there. Tim had mentioned paying off our SLIP loan.
Okay, give me just 1 second. I'm writing or typing all these things down.
Okay. And while she's doing that, we scheduled office holders to come in tomorrow morning. As of right now, we have the afternoon open. There are others to be scheduled on Wednesday morning, correct? Okay. I didn't know if the board would want Stephanie to try to reach out to a couple of these and see if they want to come in tomorrow afternoon.
Did they pick Wednesday or you pick Wednesday? Did they say that's the only day they can do it? No, I'll tell you what.
Sheriff's office, that was not a day that they could do it.
Yeah.
Highway, that was the day that they could do it. I could reach back out to public defender and EMA. And
Keep it the same.
Yeah, we do. Maybe that's all, I thought that's only, I thought you scheduled it, then maybe you could do it all one day, but that doesn't sound like.
It sounded like to me it's gonna be.
I mean, she might get a few more, but it's the sheriff's department.
But then it's gonna leave a big gap
Yeah.
between two. But I
So,
still talk.
based on that, so tomorrow and Wednesday, how many do you have left?
Well, Lori, she's gonna be out of town. And then, Warner, I still haven't got his yet,
You'll be wrong, okay?
but I think it-
Good job, Stephanie.
Alex, he may or may not.
His sister or his, sister maybe.
Alex,
So, you're right.
Alex Simpson.
Yeah, like Simpson's sister, she's dead.
He didn't get it.
Let's
Don't worry about
it.
it.
His argument, pretty simple.
Okay, so an animal control facility building, a storage building, SLEP loan payoff. Anything else?
General fund and balance.
Okay. Check the minimum on balances, okay?
I don't know if we want to that in there now or what, but for what it's worth, I'll bring it up. I do know that the sheriff's department is having a lot of issues with their phones. There have been other departments that have said they're having problems with their phones. Paul talked to Josh Ditto. Josh was sending someone over there to look at the sheriff's department phone, see what the issue is. I know there have been some a little bit of back and forth between whether it's Clearwave problem or whether it's a CDS problem. But the main thing is, I think with the phone system that we have, Josh would like to give us a proposal on a completely new phone system that they could handle. Right now, with the Mitel system that we have, there's no one locally that takes care of these things. CDS, I think, is very limited as to what they can do. They could install a new jack here or there, but even then, they have to contract that out. I did get some interest in a couple different companies, but they're out of state. They're way.
Well, tear down, Brett, she would bid some kind of phone system if we were at that point.
Yeah. They would have some kind of phone system.
You know, read those emails, I couldn't tell, maybe you guys, the problem was the same.
Well, all I know is I sent Josh an email, just simply saying, we can't have interruption service over here.
And the highway department,
And the highway.
but they weren't the same issue.
But we have separate carriers, separate internet carriers in both places.
Oh, yeah.
I remember.
Absolutely.
But they're having the same problem. And so I don't think there's a chance of the internet being out at the same time, at the same places, two different companies. I just don't see it.
I'd like to see the county go be more consistent instead of us having Clearwave and them having Futiva.
They always had something.
But that was Greg's wish to get Futiva at the time. Now we got Travis. Travis may be okay with going with Clearwave. To me, I think it makes more sense being consistent all across the
It
board.
really should do.
It should be.
So
Well,
But anyway,
maybe, I don't know. I don't know if we went with.
Oh,
If you did the system, we're gonna talk, the systems will talk with each other. I had no idea. That's way.
Well, just, you
Either
had two different systems and you had problems. At the same time, something didn't add up.
Well, but they have my telephone. Well, I don't know.
I think they did.
I think they had the
They go
same-
there in animal control,
They
yeah.
have the same hardware.
Well, but I didn't understand what the problem was.
Sheriff's Department.
On all of them, I mean, one was this.
Well, I know.
One was this, one was that.
Stephanie had a problem just communicating with Joy the other
And it
day.
was-
What happened?
Her phone just, well, I could hear her, but she couldn't hear me. And it happens like that quite often, and she said it happens for hours at a time.
So I
They're not
think,
able to use it.
I
So
don't
they
know.
end up using their cell phones then at that point?
Well, what we don't
Well, that's
want,
unacceptable.
yeah, that
That's
is
not
unacceptable, and that's what we don't want is for the public to have that problem in trying to communicate with the sheriff's office. We want to make sure everything is up and up on that.
All we do is only have, TDS and the other ones.
Clearway.
Just give us a proposal.
Yeah.
But they need to match apple to apple. We can't have
We
one
have-
saying one thing, one saying another. And I don't know who's gonna draw that apple to
So
apple.
wherever we have a phone, this company needs to be responsible. We have one company.
Yeah, so see, we're kind of, the other people working this phone report in Indiana, and they start clocking, if they leave, go over here.
Yeah,
That's garbage, to work on one phone.
Yeah.
That would rack up fast. So I'd like to see.
Okay.
let's just see what they have to
With
say.
those two companies that we're dealing with right now, I think it would make sense to stick with
They're both
them.
right here. No, I think
Both right here.
Um,
Clearwave seemed to be, she seemed to think
No
they,
frontier.
yeah, no.
front two.
no.
Anything else on any other item or topic or anything? Anybody? Move on. If not, Kim, can we go ahead and just start looking at some of these estimated revenue sources?
Sure.
Let's just start looking at some of these numbers.
Let's make sure we're on the same page here. I've only got.
You sent
I've got
us,
50 pages
an
of
email.
comments.
With the estimated revenue sources from the state, historical guide from 2001 on all of our tax revenues. Is there any comment that you would like us to keep in mind? I know it looks like for October and November 2022, it's a guess based on, I would assume, the averages of the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's an average of the first 10 months.
Historical, and we just go right into 20.
Is there anything that you'd like to point out as far as the historical aspect of this?
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a couple of interesting items. The first one, which is titled sales tax.
Is that historically the 2001 or what year are you talking about?
Well, I'm just starting with we can just start at the 2001 year for just the first one, sales tax. That one you see volatility in up and down through the percentages. And I just wanted to point out that that is not necessarily a bad sign. Typically, that is an indicator of an annexation. The first group of numbers there, that's the countywide sales tax. So when something gets annexed into a municipality, then you're going to see a dip there, and then it's going to get moved down to the quarter cent, which is your share of everything in the county. So it's not that there was something major that changed, but it's an annexation. So if you look, you have a couple good years, 2 or 3 good years, and then a drop. And that's just the history of the sales tax. The one oddity that that I would have you pause and look at and think about what you want to do comes with the personal property replacement tax. In 2022, in 21, the state released the projection for 22 to be $660,000. And so for budget purposes, you'd used 85% of that number. However, the amount you're projected to receive is a little over 1.2 million. The state's projection next year is that 1.2 million, a little more. What level are you confident at for replacement tax? You know, I guess the reason I'm asking that is that the state's projection last year was materially off. It was in your favor. But being materially off can also be not in your favor. So historically, we have used that state released projection for you to look at that, but it's going to come down to what are you confident that you're going to receive. The other cell that I've highlighted there for 2022 is an income tax. There was a very large month, over 700,000. That's a very odd number. It's an anomaly. And so I don't know that that will repeat. So you may want to consider that in your 23 projection. In looking at the percentages, some of the last 3 years, you're going to see the effects of COVID, such as, you know, when the gaming terminals were shut down. You can definitely tell those months when that was happening. But in looking at consistency, I think things have been pretty consistent. Were there any particular revenue sources that you really wanted a little more background on? Anything that would help you target your ideal number any easier?
Can we talk a little bit about the personal property replacement tax?
Sure.
What that consists of?
Oh, sure. The personal property replacement tax. Illinois, back in about the 70s or so, they discontinued personal property tax on items that people own personally. And they discontinued that personally, but what they did is on the corporate returns, on the corporate income tax returns, they added a line called personal property replacement tax, where they replaced their source of revenue with a tax on corporations. So that's the driver of that particular revenue source. It's based on corporate income. So corporations will pay income tax and they will also pay the personal property replacement tax. That is, you know, a factor of how well businesses are doing and what income they're reporting.
Yeah, what was I thought, isn't the sheriff reimbursement coming out of personal property replacement tax?
Yes.
I believe so. I believe so. And so that's another consideration of maybe, you know, do we need to pare down next year's projection for personal property tax revenue to, you know, split that out? You're probably not going to get any more. They're just going to withhold that from that type of income.
Do you know if the projection that they're giving includes that, or does it not include that?
They don't say. I don't have any idea what is in that projection. That's just the number they put online for everybody. And it was so materially off last year, it's really tough to have confidence in that projection.
Actually, if that's not included, you're looking at 95 grand.
Is it 95?
Well, I mean, I went off of $142,000, which I think is pretty close to what the 80% of what the SA salary is for the sheriff. And then we're gonna reimburse it 60%. That's 94.5.
Mhm.
That they're gonna reimburse it.
Yeah, but I mean,
That's
it's
coming right out
coming,
of
it's,
personal
yeah, it's
department.
established. I mean, you know, you're
You're
getting more, but not from the same, it's the.
Probably Peter, but
Right.
So if it's not calculated in there, probably, I mean, you're gonna have an increase in July. Or, I guess all of those, the SA's office, the PD is increased in July. I'm assuming that, based on the statute, the sheriff is gonna have to follow suit. You're gonna have to do a resolution just like you did those, so you probably shut off $100,000 off of that. If that's not calculated, just for the offset of the reimbursement.
It should be less coming out of our general fund, which is how we paid it this year.
Right.
So,
But there will be a separate line, there's a separate line. The reimbursement from state.
we will need a resolution too for that. Sure.
Okay, so we have a number that looks good for our projection that we want to shoot for 3.
And their projection is 1,242,000. Is that what that is, Kim?
Yeah.
No. No.
Look at the 750.
Honestly, I wouldn't go much higher than that.
750.
750. What do you think, Brett?
So
So I think seven.
Yeah.
I'm just too leery.
may
I'm
have
gonna be
to
comfortable lower than the higher.
okay, but I mean, that's.
Seven, what's in my head?
7.
I'm a little leery.
Okay.
We've never gotten that much, have we? First,
No, I mean, I think, if I'm not, 674 was the
Yeah.
highest.
674 is the highest. Yeah, so
7 going once.
done. Sell it.
700,000.
So,
I think what may have happened, of course, I don't know. I'm not obviously in the inside of the, Illinois projections and what they're doing there, but I think there were some tax law changes that Pritzker signed into effect that were not in favor of corporations, or maybe some tax law changes that resulted in fewer credits. Anyway, and I think that changed taxable income for corporations. And maybe when they were doing the projections for 2022, maybe they didn't consider those, or there was some timing differences on passing the laws. But since it's a driver is corporate income, I think there's something that changed in that landscape that made their number really far off.
They're taking into effect the corporations that are leaving. Because there's a, well,
Yeah, I mean, that's the part I don't know. I know they're giving you that 1,000,002 number as a projection,
A huge hedge fund move.
But what if all those people leave? Then their number is off the wrong way. It's not in your favor. So I've got 700 for that one. Do you have a sales tax number?
That's good. Very first page.
but your 2022 is on the.
What is that now?
Well, 2022 sales tax numbers are in the middle of your packet, so.
Yeah.
As it goes from, starts at 2001, but then it goes through the last 3 columns, 2021, 22.
Yeah, I put on the historical data.
Our
The sales tax, the first one has had 2 good years, so I expect next year you'll see the effect of some annexations. I can tell you last year's method, if this helps get your conversation going. You had looked at what was collected in total, because in your budget, in your financial statements, the sales tax is one line. So the two are added together, and that's where I've got a line down there at the bottom called combined total. In looking at the projected amounts for October, November, those don't seem to be really far off from the prior year, November, December, or October, November. And last year you used 85% of the amount collected, so that you're recognizing that growth sort of as it happens. So when it comes to what do you think you can realistically recognize in income, is there a method that you think, okay, this number is something I feel like we're definitely going to get?
Eighty-five percent of sales tax, you're making 25,000. You got up to 3-1, 2,639,144 to roughly 3,660.
So 85% of the 1206 or 1.206 69.
Yeah, so 1,025,000.
Can we use the combined total line since you only have one revenue line for sales tax?
Yes.
Yeah, let's try to make it less complicated.
Okay.
It is 328.
3,664,144, but I know you like round numbers, so 3,665 would be 85% of the 2022.
What was that again? 3 million.
3,665.
Right. That would be 85%.
What was 665? What was?
That is 3,665,000 even. I rounded it up. 3,664.
So you're
85%.
so if you're going on trends. But when you go to the line.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be, I mean, based off of what the numbers are, I mean, those you'll hit those easily.
I think we'll hit all 36.
3,665,000.
Okay, got it.
6, 6, 5.
Now we go to the personal property replacement tax. You already got that 700.
Okay.
State income tax.
State income tax.
I think the November estimate, just being consistent and giving you estimates there, I mean, that is high compared to the November of prior years. Would you like to back down the estimate for November before we do any other math on that?
Bring it back in line.
Yeah.
2021. October is a little bit less than what was in 2021. Still high compared to 2020. Take November down to 180.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
I
190.
mean, if you look, I mean, 158 to 172 is roughly 10% more, I mean, from the prior year. Take 172, 260 times. I mean, that puts you at 189, 486.
So it's still back to 108,000.
So do you want 180 for November then?
190.
190.
Okay. So that changes your total to 3,475,000.
$85% of that's 2,954,000 even.
What was that?
2,954,000.
Are you comfortable factoring in that 3,475, that $700,000 payment? Do you want any adjustment in 23 to? Or is the 85% enough distance for you?
Could that have been, I mean, you said it wouldn't be based on a deferral of any reason. Is that past the pandemic time?
Yeah.
In which it would have been deferred?
Yeah. Yeah, that wouldn't be any deferral.
That wouldn't be any kind of an amnesty, tax amnesty program, would it?
I'm gonna look and see if they have an
But
amnesty.
with the state says that, hey, if you'll come in and pay, we'll give you, we'll take penalties or whatever.
You took that down to 350. The 701,000, that's kind of the anomaly. Everything else is in that 350 and corresponds pretty well to the year over year. And then you got it jumping from 354 to 701. I mean, that month, even from 212 to 354 is a big jump, but I mean, with 354, I mean, you're practically doubling that number.
Right.
Well, and maybe, what I asked her, Jim, was if there was maybe some kind of amnesty, some kind of incentive for people to come in and pay their taxes, maybe.
So at 2,954,000, you think that's too high of an estimate then?
Well, I mean, based off of what if that's
Because of
truly
the
an anomaly,
Yeah.
I mean, then you're looking more at, well, if you back that off and take 350 off of that and move that down to 350, then you're looking more in the range of 2,657,000.
Which is gonna make it.
Well, I don't see anything on an amnesty program in 22, but what I did see is that they passed a law fully phasing out replacement tax beginning January 1 of 24.
Hmm. So then how is the share reimbursement?
You
That
know, I
doesn't sound positive, does it?
What doesn't?
seem like I remember us talking about that.
Why would they do it?
Now they're gonna pull it off of use tax or something else.
Because I'd be more apt to go with the, instead of 350, go with the 400.
On that
To show a
701.
little increase, reflect a little increase. Other than just half.
So January 1 of 23, the first $100,000 of franchise tax liability is tax exempt. That's so $100,000, the first 100, the corporations aren't going to pay replacement tax on. And then in 24, it's fully phased out.
Pretty good. Remember we put down around 15,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's do seven.
Right in 10 cents.
If you wanna drop, if you only drop it down to 300,000, then you're at basically 2,700,000. Is what you're looking at. So dropping that. $254,000.
2.7, that gets us more in line with what we had in 2021. 2.7,
27?
Yeah, 2.7.
2.7 even.
We're gonna say 41, I can tell you.
Yeah, we'll come back to that for sure.
Use tax. This is the tax that comes from idle vehicles.
Titled items, vehicles, trailers, RVs. You did have a COVID bump.
Mhm.
Everybody wanted a camper or something, I think.
Buy campers.
And everybody's paying full price for cars and trucks.
Yeah, you look at that.
Oh.
That shouldn't be.
Well, isn't use tax also from out-of-state purchases?
Like the online.
Yeah, I'm seeing they changed, the law for that, so it's flat. Well,
Yeah, they-
that stuff
they- yeah,
falls
they-
into more of the actual sales tax than supplemental, because they can identify where the warehouse or the distribution center is. They go off that, so.
That's it. Take this one. See,
Survey.
You're good,
We'll come back around.
84 million.
800.
Yeah, I just don't understand.
800 on that, Kim.
Okay.
Gaming's been very consistent. Speaking of that, I ran out to Walker's Bluff just to take a look. You seen the size of that hotel?
They're sorry, yeah.
It's huge. It's huge. Done a lot of work. Still got a lot of work to go.
Walker's Bluff won't be part of this gaming tax. It's gonna be a separate, right?
Well, I don't know.
We talked about,
Kim, can you answer that question?
talked about you.
Will Walker's Bluff be part of this gaming tax?
This gaming tax you're getting right now is video gaming tax. So
Okay.
if they have video machines, which they might, I don't know, then that would be here.
Okay.
But if it's not video gaming, then it would be a different
Mhm.
gaming. So you might get a little bump here if they have those video poker machines.
So the gaming revenue that we're supposed to receive is a totally different form of gaming revenue? Is that what you're saying?
There's gonna be online betting. on sporting events.
Yeah,
There's gonna be table games out there.
yeah.
I think what you'll get on that is you will get a different monthly disbursement
Okay.
for the casino gaming. It
Okay.
won't be lumped in. I think the only thing lumped in here would be any income from their video poker machines.
Right, just the unincorporated areas of Williamson County.
Because that is an unincorporated area.
Mhm.
That's where I'm saying if they put video machines out there, that's going to get in with this batch here.
Right,
Does that change or does that, I mean, since it's under that roof, is it all one entity?
That's kind of what I was thinking, that it was all gonna be in a casino.
Well,
mean,
it might be, we can look and see, but I know here they have every video gaming terminal lumped.
I'm thinking that all the revenue, because it's coming in, it's taxed in a different
That's what
rate.
we talked.
Those revenues are.
I don't think a video game machine that had that casino would fall into this.
No,
I'm wondering that
You're
also,
talking about nightmare.
Different, right? That's a
Well-
different license.
because then we can license it.
It's not, how do we know on that?
Well, but okay. Remember, it all goes in the same pot.
I get that.
So I mean, you could have a line item, but it's still gonna be general fund money. We're not gonna have a separate like account that, that money. is.
Other understanding that this could be anything that was gaming.
I think it's all gonna be total, we're
Separate
gonna get our take is 5% of the total gaming. That's what we're supposed to
Separate
get,
line.
is 5%, and I'm thinking that's what we sent to us in a different way.
Not doing sure.
If it's video machines, then we can, right. Well, if they are, then we ought to be able to license every one of them too.
I mean, I know where you're coming from. I don't think that there, I mean,
You know exactly.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's a
getting back to, the gaming.
We cut off in the trees here.
Let's figure a number. Is 120 too high? What do you think? 120, that be,
Well, you know, if the casino opens, are these folks gonna go there instead of the?
I think you'll see, I think you'll see people go there first. You'll see it all.
I
think we're gonna see a drop in this.
would do that. 10. We don't know what, that's the thing.
What's the projected start date? For opening day?
February.
February 20.
February, March.
Yeah.
right, in that time.
I mean, it's a-
He's got
it's a crash.
110, I said 120,
How about 115?
115,
Hey,
You know, man, I'm a deal maker, right?
yeah.
115.
I bet we come back here too.
That part of
What's that?
the betting,
There you go.
betting comes back.
I remember that trip, yeah. 800.
Okay.
Like your help out there at the cannabis place, is helping to do that.
Well, yeah, I think if we're gonna bump anything, we're gonna bump the cannabis.
Good.
Yeah. Which one are you looking for, Jim? I got cannabis coming up next.
That feels. It's 110, 049, but more budget for.
One,
Okay, that is, that's the public defender
That's the
side.
public defender reimbursement.
Yeah.
That's what we're seeing.
well, I see it possible.
Did we get, what did we get, 80%, 85% or something for salary? Probably close to 60.
Well,
I think 66 and 2.
That's what happened.
66 and 2/3.
But it's what, 90%?
Okay, well, anyway,
We still have cannabis.
my last two pages were out of order, that's what threw me off. Okay, so the cannabis. I know people like their cannabis. that right, Brent?
I know driving by there, they sure like it.
There's been times I've seen it all the way up to 13.
Oh, yeah, crazy. It's also not for now, it's
450,
450.
475.
450 minimum, I was gonna say, or 475.
475.
It is one stable,
Yeah.
extreme of money, I can tell you. I mean, I look at it, I know it's gonna be 40 plus or 40-ish.
You guys
Every
put
single time.
475.
475.
475.
Look,
475, Kim.
Got it.
They do this up there after arbitration.
I heard that it keeps them open.
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
State's attorney salary.
This is a hard, that ought to be a hard number, right?
Yes, it will change in the summer depending on what COLA they release. But your reimbursement will go up as well.
67. Sweet.
Oh no, because you're gonna be at 14, 243, 56 times 12. That's 179.22. So you probably need to be at 170.
71?
Yeah, because this year, October, November, August, that reflects the 2.9% increase that they received.
170.
Right.
170.
170,
yeah.
Well, and you know that it's gonna increase as well.
So we don't keep it 170, 170.
The 171.
171. You get that, Kim?
Got it?
Yeah.
she's at 66 and 2/3 is what she is.
And so
9%.
that's 116.5. 116.32.
116.5.
Okay.
16. Supervisor assessment. Guys good with that?
Well, you need a, you're at 44,870 right now. And you'll be getting 2% raise, right?
What they can do.
Well, that's 45,767, so you're going to get 46.
46.
Salary.
Yeah, he's going up to,
So now you're going to be at
I think it's around 142 or
yeah, I
something.
think it's 142. That's what backwards. Not too.
But isn't this already covered in the personal property replacement tax?
Oh, we think it may.
We're not
Yeah.
sure about that.
I was gonna say, if we put it down here, we'll need to back it out of that.
Well, I mean, well, this is the revenue that we're getting from the county. So you're gonna have to calculate that. Or, I mean, the state's gonna give us this money, so you gotta have some kind of line.
Are they giving us money?
They're reimbursing us at that, whatever, 66 and 2/3%. Or
Yeah.
that's 142.
of the new.
So that's coming in. So I mean, it's gonna have its, it's gonna be in that line item.
But that money's coming in on personal property replacement. tax.
No, it's coming in from, let's see.
He was getting what percentage of the state's attorney's salary?
80.
80%.
Since a,
So you got line 4166 is your public defender. Line 4144 is your assessor. Your line 41 or 44103 is state attorney salary. Those are reimbursements.
Right.
Those are actual lines. You're gonna have another one that I'll put in here that's 41 or 441 or 217. It'll say receive and it'll say sheriff's salary.
Yeah.
And it'll have it, so it'll be its own line item.
That's a new line item.
A new line item
Right.
outside of the personal property replacement tax line item that's already listed.
So if we list it here, we'll have to back that same amount of what we just.
Well, I think we did.
estimated.
I think we did. Whenever we were budgeting that, we knocked off that amount off that personal property one when we were doing the estimate on that. We already backed out that.
Did you?
I thought I did. I thought that's what I said. I recommended.
Okay, I've got 700, I put down 700,000 on personal property replacement.
Right. And that was going off, like, they had a $1.2 million projection,
Right.
and we got 660 last year. But I mean, even at the 1.2 million, I think I cut off the 100, and whatever, it's going to come from that. And then we lowered it even more based on what the 2021 number was. I was thinking that those two may be in the number. So it's with 700, because I mean, we got 674 in 21, and then we've already got,
And then in 2020, we got 400.
yeah, but I mean, that was a COVID year too. We got less on everyone was in 2020. And this year we've received $1,081,000 today in personal property replacement tax. So I think whenever I would recommend the 700, I'm pretty certain that I was factoring out that
You already
we
factored it
were,
out.
it was.
Because I don't remember that we were talking about it, so that's fine.
But I mean, we can always revisit it if we get,
Right.
to a point. Well, I guess we need to figure it out.
We need a number.
Extreme salaries, 183. I think that was. Two point one percent. So that's 188,753 times 8. That's 151,000. That the sheriff is going to be paid. Multiply that by 66. That's 100,568. You already done the math on that. You're just waiting for me to. I mean, I've got like 100,568 that would be the reimbursable portion from the state for the sheriffs based off of the 80% of the current SA salary from that statute with a $151,000 salary.
Okay.
I know I didn't adjust the new raise that both the state attorney and the public defender in the actual budget. We didn't open it back up. We just,
The sheriff's salary is going to be about 150,000, right?
that's what I got. Yeah, 150, 151 was what I got.
And so when I take 80% of that as a reimbursement, right?
I thought the sheriff was getting reimbursed at 66 2/3%.
Oh, okay, okay.
Hold on, let me.
Yeah. That's correct.
Yeah, right at 100,000. Yeah.
Yeah, just over $100,600.
Yeah. Yeah. And so with that, then are you still comfortable with your 700 on replacement tax, or would you like to lower that?
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
I thought I thought that I had taken that into consideration.
So that's
When I
what
said the 700,000, but I may not have, I may have thought it and not said it, or.
That's what I thought.
But I thought that's what I thought I made a comment about that.
Why don't you guys go back up there and take a look at that and make sure you're happy with your 700?
So,
I'm concerned because that's now 800,000, coming down to 700,000.
Well, whenever I had asked the question, maybe that's where I was coming from. I had asked the question in this projection, is the salary reimbursement factored into this? Had they factored that in? Because it's in all the articles, and I think even in the, it might even be in the statute that stated that the money was going to come from personal property replacement tax. So then
That's exactly where the money was supposed to come from.
yeah.
So I don't know if since that was approved, this year, are they taking that into consideration?
I would say on caution.
So then you're down to 1,142,321.
Yeah.
I would say. You're thinking.
I'm just concerned, last year was a big year at 674. I don't know, guys. Could be $100,000.
well, that'd be a safe call.
I think you could find out, or maybe someone can find out, if that calculation includes the.
Like what we said before, it's probably one of the numbers that we're going to circle back to.
We can put a start by it.
Just put a start by it.
Leave it 7,
So just that we know we have 800,000 that we're estimating for that.
That's what we put
Make it
this.
800.
No, we're 7. That's
We're at
7.
7, but we.
We're gonna bump the circle back around if we hear the answer.
But Tim, what Tim, I think, is saying is that if you, we're banking that whole number would be at 800,000.
Yes.
If, with $100,000 reimbursement, we do need to probably have someone clarify if they can tell us that 1,242,000 number, does that factor out the reimbursement that's going to be coming from another area, or is it not? If it's not, then it's definitely too high. If it's factored in, and they said had we not done the sheriff reimbursement, it would have been 1,342,000, then maybe you are comfortable with the 700. But if they say no, the 1,242,000 is what it's going to be. We had no consideration of that sheriff reimbursement factor. Well, now it drops down to 1.1.
Right.
I know that I did ask whenever that came out if they would be issuing us a separate check. And the 2 state reps that I talked to got back to me and said that no, it's all going to be in one form. I don't know if that helps us off the cuff here or not.
Well, we get the reimbursement as a separate,
But what they were saying was that it's whatever we get in personal property replacement fund during the year is what.
is what they're going to.
So what,
We're supposed to pull that money from. They're not sending an individual reimbursement check.
okay,
I'd have to question that one. I mean, from a bookkeeping standpoint, that's a nightmare.
I'd have to.
Because you have to know when you're moving it over. What if I'm like that, I'll put it all at the end of the year.
I don't think anybody knew what was happening.
The comptroller's office sends us those reimbursements, I mean, electronically for SA. You know, we fill out the form, we send it in. SA, PD, supervisor assessment, they all come in separate, individualized notices.
Yeah,
I just want to hear it from source now,
I agree.
not.
So this is information
Yeah.
we're still waiting.
Well, but they.
Well, we would need some
They did-
clarification on that.
Right,
I don't know.
okay. So let's just leave it at 7, yeah.
Let's circle back to
We'll
this.
do the circle back
Information
around.
on this.
This. So, okay. So then with the sheriffs, or wait a second, not the sheriffs.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah,
This is
well,
the sheriff. Yeah. Figure.
I mean, it's roughly 100,000, it's 100,516 is what I'm coming up with. I mean, back in
you said 100.
100,568.
How do you get that?
I took the current SA salary on the budget, multiplied it by 1.029%, because that's the raise that he got, and took that number and multiplied that by 80%, and took that number and multiplied it by 66.6.
That's a reimbursement. And that comes
Comes out
in
fast.
was 10,
Well, either 100 or 101. I mean,
it was rounded.
Yeah, you want to go 101, you're done with it.
It may go back.
well, and back then there's going to be another raise in there, right, in July, so 101.
Probably be something.
It's
You get that, Kim? 101.
Got it. So I think the one thing that I'm kind of seeing here for next budget cycle, and I'll be happy to do a little more research on this replacement tax issue. You're doing the 23 budget now. If this research is correct, you will drop 700,000 out of next year's budget if replacement tax has been repealed. So we need to start thinking now, how are you going to fill? That's a pretty large hole to fill.
But is that going to be replaced from the corporate income tax? I mean, or is it, I mean, you're going to lose all that with no
I don't know.
placement?
I don't know. That's what I need to do a little research on, and seeing, I can see where they're saying, yeah, income tax will be a little higher. I just don't know the split of that new income tax. So I may have to do a little digging on that. I'll just make a note.
That be, when was that scheduled possibly for next year?
January of 24.
Okay.
It'll be, the replacement tax will be gone.
Okay.
So gaming tax for gambling revenue has been spent 50 different ways already.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Now this is potentially going to be the plug for the loss that we're going to have. And, you know,
Oh, that's expensive, was.
why not? I mean, 50 might be a low estimate of the number of times it's spent.
It's not been promised anyway.
No, it's been here.
They can spend it, but it's not been promised.
Should have, you know, clarify that in mind, in people's minds, it's been spent.
Yeah, in their imagination,
Okay.
yeah.
In the dreaming world.
So where do we go from here? Any suggestion?
Great revenue, so the next thing you do would be to start
Looking
and
at,
working off of the budget. Or your other option is to address like the fees and stuff that you
Yeah,
talk to if you don't want to start, because it does, those factor into those bottom
we probably ought to look at fees, and
local,
that's,
local line items.
yeah.
Because right now they just address all the state, based revenues and none of them.
the direction
That's
do
a
you think
local
we should go
revenues, we're
next,
probably-
Kim? What would you recommend? Oh, can't hear you.
Sorry, I muted myself. I think we have a little more work to do on the revenues, but there are also some expense items that I'm going to need to know what direction you want to go. So I'll ask you a couple of expense questions, and then maybe looking at the tax levy and looking at the fine and fee ordinance would be the next logical step to go through. On the expense side, for the office holders who pay for positions out of their fee funds, do you want those positions added back to the general fund, or do you want to leave them in the fee funds?
Personally, I would think leave it back in the fee fund.
Sorry, Ashley.
So, it's the same folks.
That's me. That's just me.
Any other?
I haven't heard anything from these two.
I agree with that. Sorry, Ashley.
Do you want now?
All right, create a wild monster that way. That's okay.
Well, I just need information.
The employees that were being paid out of special fees and funds be kept on those fees and funds are brought back into the general fund. I'm sorry. Kept there.
Yes, kept
Kept
there,
there.
yes.
Yeah.
May I ask a
Start that
question?
way?
Yes, go ahead.
If that's gonna be the
New normal.
new normal, I really think that target balance for those fees needs to be addressed, because there's gonna come a point in time that somebody, whether myself, Amanda, Justin, Alex, whoever, may get to a point where it's like, okay, I can't afford to do that and operate, so, it goes back to that planning part.
Yeah.
So to be able to say, okay, you say you gotta keep X in there, so as we're, like, be like,
We can get to that.
two in a year,
We're gonna have to get.
we're gonna be.
We're not there
It's gonna be a hard out. It's like either I'm gonna have to lose somebody, or we're gonna have to figure out a way to.
But over history, money's been there every single year.
Yeah,
Well, but in some
If it did,
instances, in others, I mean, Amanda's got an account and I have an account that we're spending more than we're taking in.
Okay.
Whereas the supervisor assessment and the circuit clerk is still taking in more than they're spending. So their budget, their balances are never increased. So that's what I'm saying, just.
We'll be aware.
Yeah.
That's all I was
Yeah.
going to say,
Right.
wrapping it up.
Yeah.
We'll be
There's
aware.
some, you have to.
you have to have enough money.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What was the direction you said you were going to look at next?
My next question, and I'm just trying to get enough information to build your spreadsheet, just to get started. For non-union raises, what would you like to use?
Same as you.
70 cents.
I think it was 70.
70 is what we have.
Was it 70 or was it 85? 70? 70 cents.
You know, we did do some wage adjustments so we get them up out of the minimum wage.
We felt 70 lines.
We held 70 everywhere. But those that were,
Well, but you guys decided last time, we're supposed to mirror supervisor assessment.
Well, it's the same thing.
And they're getting ready,
we're getting ready to negotiate.
They're gonna
So that's
be,
what I'm just saying,
I got
you may want, I don't know.
they're gonna be
talking.
they're gonna be
Today's
setting,
date,
they're gonna
it's
be
gonna be
setting.
70. As we go through this negotiations, and we'll have to
Yeah.
I know.
fairly
Yeah,
adjust.
I just remember there was a big discussion about who do we mirror in our offices and.
How did you come up with that? Just go through the same building? How do you?
Well, so you guys decided that last year.
I mean,
That was your decision. I think you said because the three of us work together, I mean, in conjunction with the tax cycle and everything else that
And your
we,
employees are
well,
doing
basically,
basically
we
the
need to
same
have you
work
with
across, aren't they?
one group, because
Clerk type work.
the contracts don't all fall on the same
no,
side.
exactly right.
So somewhere along the line, you can't keep getting that, a different increase.
No, I understand, but I think at one time it was a certain clerk's office, I think maybe because they were all, you were all.
We just pick
courthouse.
one.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's
You know,
probably-
I can say, for me, and I'm probably say for all three, 7/10 wasn't big, so. No, I'm not budgeting one in, so.
That's fine, I just was bringing it up, that I know that there's a contract. and we're-
So that was our word, I mean, everybody.
That was our word.
That was our word, and not moving.
70 cents is what it is.
Okay.
Exception of those ones that fell below minimum wage. I mean,
For the assessor's office staff, do you want to put anything into those lines or wait until you get the contract settled?
That makes sense. That's me.
yeah,
And if we're gonna put something in,
Well, last year you put in contingency,
yeah, we put in contingency,
your, yeah, your.
the raises.
Right, your salaries were flat for the long.
Well, they're saying that.
And then you put all that money in contingency.
that's still the number, that's still the number I'll go with.
Yeah. So whether it's in their office budget or contingency, it's still the same.
You want to start contingency at last year's amount just to get your spreadsheet started?
Yes,
Yes,
What was it?
please.
250?
800 and
Oh,
something.
no,
It was 800 grand or something like that.
No.
Well, it was about 700, I think, but it had all of those contractual increases in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Now, for capital improvement, we can start with what you had last year, but I don't think that will be near enough to take into consideration the items you mentioned earlier when I came on. So do you have any amounts in mind for an animal control facility, storage building, or a telephone system?
You guys see,
Well,
you see the animal control facility being built this year?
well, that all depends on the price. I mean, because, I mean, what we did, like I said, what we did in the jail was built over 4 years. So we will just start putting money back now for it and try to come 2 to 3 years? Or you want to try to do
I would
the same
have-
thing we did in 1 year?
I would have to say that the animal control facility, probably you're gonna be looking at 300,000.
Say now.
I
So,
would say every penny of that.
so whether you wanna start putting a fourth of it back, half of it back,
Well, I'm wondering if we shouldn't start to engage in an architect and engineer.
I think maybe that might be a good idea, because
And that help us with the planning of what we actually need, because none of us really know how much it's gonna be.
we're all in favor of doing something for that. So we might as well just
So
go.
we're
get it.
about position out there, they could sure, yeah.
If we put back, if we put 25 grand or 30 grand, say 10% of what we anticipate the cost to hire a
It's just a
consultant
guess.
to help us figure out what we actually need, would that be a fair thing?
I think. Pick a number.
Yeah, they did.
Well, and then if you want to put something else to start the savings account for that.
I would say 100.
I would think though that if we put 25 to 30 grand, we're going to spend it this year in the budget, we could do that easily.
Set back 75.
Yeah, and then set back another 75, so 100, say 100 total. And then know that we're going to spend 25 to 30, probably on a consultant for that. You guys okay with that?
Yeah, we've been talking about it long enough, we need to do something.
So
And I had no idea how much a phone system would cost. You guys, you
I
were
wanna-
both here whenever you bought the last one.
Well, I think it was just given to us. But,
Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you under the bus on that, Jim.
well, but I think I would have to guess.
It was a
100, 150, 160,000.
Really that much?
I would say at least 150,000.
Every bit of that, maybe. I mean,
Yeah, so what we,
like we were doing, like those voice over IP ones and all that.
They're gonna be that much. you think, huh?
They're right there.
And that's one that we may circle back.
Let's put it in
Let's just
there.
throw a number out there, 160,
Okay, yeah,
160 for that.
that is a lot of money.
But I will say this, though, regardless, we're moving forward, and, and this county is growing. We need a system not only that functions properly, but we need a system anymore in the day and age that we live in that is being able to be protected from any source of IT that can get into our system or anything. So I say this county is big enough and large enough to where we need to protect this county at every turn. So whatever the system is they recommend, they're the ones that we're going to rely upon for our IT protections and for hacking and everything. I think we need to go with whatever that estimate is, but we'll get some estimates.
And the thing is, it's like she said that day, clear ways. Our phones aren't really old. Not the life of phones. 5 years? Maybe. I mean, is there just a glitch to something going on right now? I mean, when you get to the bottom of what's going on, it just seems kind of ironic that Animal Control and Sheriff Department has something going on. I mean, is it something that somebody doing around out here?
I think so.
It up?
They don't have it.
Huh?
Animal control doesn't have it. Yeah,
So.
Yeah.
highway.
Did you have problems with the phone at one time?
We've had stuff that's dropped and we've had
Calls up.
issues. And then
Yeah.
a couple times where you couldn't call in or call out. It was for like, morning or something.
But if you look at
Continuous.
We can't have that high.
Well, if you look at businesses, I mean, the business general, they say they have on 10-year, but we're 5 year.
Okay. So let me back up, I hate to switch gears here, but back up to animal control. So what was it?
100,
100.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, say 160 for a phone system. Okay. What about, so it's out there, what about the storage building? Out there, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I want to address you on this because at one time I was pretty hopped up on that until I started seeing stuff being scanned in, less boxes. You got stuff in the basement, I know.
I've got stuff in the, regional office building.
He sold, and actually said he didn't really have anything, and Justin really didn't have anything anymore. Scan in, so what are we gonna put in?
Well, the only thing.
I know one time we definitely needed it.
Right.
Well, and if you're happy with where you're at, that's fine.
I have a loading dock over there. I mean, are you gonna give me that at the new building?
Yeah,
I mean, that's pretty handy.
Whatever works. I mean, so
I'm
if
just saying
that's,
it.
so if we
That's
have
right
that
in there.
and it's working, I mean,
Yeah, I don't know who else.
Personally, I think
anymore.
if I was to put a priority, it would be then go and stuff like
Okay.
that. For now, because I don't hear anybody complaining about.
the other thing would be, to get those trailers out of the elements. And so we could look at just a basic pole barn. We could look at, I'm talking concrete floor, and whether it's personally, I like to see climate control to where we get some of these big vehicles that the county has, out into a spot where that is their spot. Okay, right now we'd have, I don't know where that MOC is being stored at. Is it just still out in the open over here?
I think it's out maybe out at the fire station at the airport.
What time is it in here? I suppose.
Maybe.
It may still be, I don't know.
And so it could be, it could be.
If it is, we need to let's leave it.
Well, I'm
That's
saying,
not costing us anything.
but, okay, so that's all I was talking about as far as storage, that in the MRAP that Benny has. Basically, the idea is all this stuff would be at a central location in the center or the heart of the county, that where it could be accessed and be taken to any part of the county at equal distance.
Yeah.
And so that was my goal. It's all, we don't have plate stuff over down airport, we don't have stuff at a fire station, we don't know where, what is what. I'm sure the office will understand that, but just the idea that we all have a central building where everything is. So if you guys are interested in that, we'll move on.
I don't think it's priority now in my book.
Right,
But
mine-
if she's happy, and I'm sitting.
And that's
You
fine.
might check with the different office holders just to see if there's a need for that anymore. They
4
might
years
not.
ago, we needed it.
Right, right, but I think that a lot of them have been scanning in, so I don't know what kind of storage documents they have.
And
But,
that,
you know, this is one of those things that the consultant can help us with,
sure,
so we can get pricing on this.
yeah,
And the thing is that it's the instability that bothered me about out there,
Okay.
out the animal control.
That's.
We don't know one day or the next we're gonna have it or not.
okay.
We
So
got.
what else for capital improvement? Anything that we're not thinking of right now? Kim, do you have any ideas that we're not thinking of?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're going to have your standard capital improvement items, squad cars, office equipment, computers. It's really what's going to show up on the office holder list. So you're still going to have to keep your base layer there for that, which was 400,000.
So we are talking, we have been talking about maybe squad cars for the sheriff's department. Did you tell me we missed our date on that for
Well-
2023?
If you're wanting to do the enterprise lease system, yes, it was only open for 2 weeks. He said it closed. Now, he's working out quotes. Hopefully I'll maybe have those by the end of this week to give you guys. But he said an option would be that some dealers that have put in orders may be able to provide a few squad cars here and there. He didn't know the number and couldn't guarantee that we could be one of the purchasers. But then you also have the Kansas deal. That is an option, for this year to carry you over, which would have 2 newer, squad units compared and be able to replace at least 2 older units. And then whenever I could just give them the new sheet and then they'll base those and put those in whatever the rotation is based off of the year and the mileage that those have.
Right, because we have that now. We have that information now.
Well, you got the Kansas ones from the 2 prior times you purchased.
I kind of told him that we
So,
might be looking at 2 per year to kind of a rough.
Honestly, I'd like to do 4 or 6 this year if we could get it in.
Yeah, and I just count on that for sure.
Right.
Yeah, all that'll do is just whenever they'll just update the quote sheet and put those and cycle out the oldest ones, put those in the new, and then they would be able to tell you where the numbers would fall in line for rolling over each year.
So you want me to tell Larry to kind of look for me 4? We're just ballparking.
Do we see any way that we could get into the guy from Kansas?
Well, you're talking, you'd be buying a brand new one, and I can send them an email, because I don't know if that means if you're getting it from a dealership, are you buying it outright, or does the lease program,
What is at least,
or is it still that lease where you can still, get the 3 for the price of 1 new? If he's like, you gotta buy them outright for that, then you're comparing the prices of what they got for Harrison Bruce,
right,
the total cost of those.
yeah, then we're looking at what,
But I can,
70,000?
I can shoot him an email and ask him if we were to get them from a dealer, does that fall into that enterprise lease agreement, or does it become, something different?
Let me ask you this, Ashley, with the squad cars, because they're rack up to miles, how does that play on these leases for miles?
He says it doesn't matter. He said they do them all across the country.
So
So,
lots of different,
he
look at it differently.
he looks at it, differently. Whenever I asked him and sent him the email, he said, we can either provide you the unit and let you do all the upfit yourself, or he said, we can provide them to you. Drop off, ready to, go out the door.
Ready to go.
Yeah, and he did say that the cost is not any better for what they do. He said, but what it does is you give them a list, they do all the work. And so it frees up, manpower
It frees up Scott and his
and time of coordinating all those within the department. They just do it all, maybe a few emails here and there just to correspond and confirm or verify.
And then when they're dropped off, they're on the road.
Because they said they can letter them and everything.
They'll do everything.
If we wanted to go, that far. I mean, they'll do as much or as little. As
The only thing we
much as
might have to do is to take a radio out, because we just were buying new radios for them. That may be about the only thing we have to do.
So.
I wish we had that number. I mean, we'll have.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have something for you, I think, hopefully. He actually, I think, well, you were, I think, CC'd on that email.
Yes.
He said that he would hope to have something to us, this week, so.
So we can revisit that, Brett, and.
When you find out, I know, I'm very.
Well, I think you probably still ask him anyway. 'cause-
I think we're gonna have to,
You're
because
not gonna probably meet your, there's gonna be some kind of gap in the timeline.
what were we looking at, like 7 first year? Is that what it was?
Heck, I think he threw out like
It was,
14 or 17 originally. I said, no. I said, we're looking at 7 to 10 max, I think is what you kind
right,
of requested based off of what.
and those are gonna be on a 4-year or 5-year rotation, right?
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, Jim's right, I don't know how those mileage calculations are compared to the,
Standard.
10,000 was standard for all the other departments, the assessor and that.
We may need
I'm sure those
24,000.
are much higher.
Yeah.
Higher use, higher mileage, so I don't know where he stands, but I'm sure we'll be on that list.
And I doubt we can get that many anyway.
Okay.
I doubt we can get that many this quickly next year.
Getting back to capital improvement then, so Kim, other than the base layer, is there anything else that we need to, that we're not thinking about for capital improvement? The base layer for 400,000, that would be for computers and any maybe office equipment of some sort, correct?
Well,
Right.
it also included last year that the enterprise lease for assessor.
Okay.
So,
All right.
And that was, what was that, 50 or 60?
no, I think we did 65,000 because we were anticipating the lettering costs and the upfits for the light bars and radios and stuff for the animal control office, EMA, and then doing the lettering, I guess, for Alex. As long as he was unplugging his modules and putting it
Did you see the letter? I think I sent you those,
For animal control.
for EMA, for animal
Yeah.
control.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I thought, do you guys like that?
Yeah,
That's about
I did tell
$500 or $600 per vehicle.
Kevin, take off that little cat. They kind of put that on.
The cat.
The cat and the dog,
That's just.
because all we do is mess with the cat.
Just
The other item you may need to check on, traditionally, through the 10-year period, and the 10 years may be up as well, but there was a $40,000 payment to the PBC for courtroom improvements. But in conversations with Red, I know I heard him mention that may no longer be applicable with the lease modification, so you may want to check with him on that. And I can also see if it's already been 10 years. So the $400,000 layer, the initial layer would have included, those continuing payments for the assessor, animal control, cars, your continued payment on there. And that would have included any amount you want to do for squad cars, office equipment. That's generally been what you set aside for the normal routine updates. So we can do that plus the animal control, plus the countywide telephone system. And then keep a list, other things may come up, so.
Kim, 305 was the final, did we start with 400 last year and then drop it down to 305 to make the budget balance? 'Cause
No,
It was 305.
yeah, that was to get the account balance up to 400.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
That was the fund minimum per the policy.
okay.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Now the SLEP loan payoff, you've got a $250,000 payment budgeted this fiscal year, and you can make that payment at any time. The next fiscal year, if you want to, the balance payoff will be about 750,000 after that $250,000 payment. And so you can budget that in the next fiscal year. You should be able to do that without any trouble. Your IMRF rates are going to be dropping starting in January. So you can use that cost savings as long as you leave the levy the same. You can use that cost savings there plus the levy replenishment to retire that by December 31st of 22 if you want to. You could do that in the first month of your fiscal year if you wanted to.
That's, yeah, I absolutely would like to do that.
Yeah.
Let's retire that.
Okay. So it's really up to you guys when you tell Stephanie or whomever to execute that claim for the $250,000 payment. That'll be made out of the IMRF fund.
That payment has been made yet this year? Okay.
Now, the important part of that
Principal.
comes to transmitting that to IMRF. Whoever's going to transmit it, which I assume it would be Julie, that has to be applied specifically to the SLEP enhancement loan. If it is incorrectly applied to any of your other plans, they won't move it. So you have to make sure it's applied directly to the SLEP enhancement loan.
The payoff they gave us is good.
Again.
No matter how you pay it. So we could send it if we just want to feel good about ourselves, or we could send it all at one time. All good.
Well, you need to do it though, being in this year's budget.
We'll need to
Yeah.
cut some, well, yeah.
I don't think you can do it this year.
Well, there's a $250,000 amount in the IMRF budget portion that Kim's got to retire. So we could do that and then manage for the right and meet this requirement. We'll send it out for another 30.
And then after, I mean, we'll actually send some questions.
4 years, December. So the new interest doesn't get added.
Yeah, we want to get that done. before the interest. Will that have any other long-term effects, Kim, on IMRF rates or anything?
Yes, yes. Of your SLEP rate, about 5% of your SLEP rate is assigned to interest expense on this loan. The actuaries have already done the work and your rate January 1 of 2023 is already set. So they're not going to redo the actuary tables for you. But by the time, if you get that paid off in 22, when they're doing the actuary work for rates effective January 1 of 24, you should recognize a 5%, 5 points, not 5%, but 5 points off your SLEP rate because you will no longer have a loan. That with your SLEP payroll is about, you'll save $75,000 a year because you're not paying interest on that SLEP enhancement loan. And that'll be forever. Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay. When it comes to building in a loan payment for the road interest and principal, what amount would you like to use for 2023?
We have any idea when that bond's going to come in? Actually, have we talked to them?
Now, probably it's, rates keep getting jacked up.
It's going to keep going up.
Like 5 to 7%. Where it was to.
Yeah.
Look at 6.
Throw 6 out there. I mean, what do they plan on saying stuff?
Road itself will be done fairly soon.
I think the road and our portion of that is going to be done before the end of this year.
Yeah, I think so.
So, I mean, we could do it at any time.
Where do we stand for I'm not saying our money,
Right.
the promise money.
Yeah, Ballard
Well,
said he told me this last week that he got the governor's office. It's in there to be given. He said he figured him out for the election. He said, I don't know if will or not, but
He's,
I guarantee you, it's in there to be given.
Bowers told me that they still recognize the promise that they made, they will keep the promise.
Yep.
So,
so always,
So the question,
what that, now,
But
the answer,
always-
what does that mean? What does that
This-
mean?
but
Look at
this
smoke signals here.
it's
I don't know.
coming
It's-
through, it's supposed to come through transportation, and if it does, there's still the question remains whether or not. we
They
can-
changed that language to make it easier, so they should be able to release it. That's
And,
all.
but we did talk about, when we started this bonding process, to build in an early payoff,
right,
either a proportional amount or the entire thing.
Right, yeah, go 10 million,
So-
wasn't even in the topic, but.
Right.
No, you're right. But we will.
Do you like a number like $1 million? Is that too much? Because we're kind of maybe looking forward to what do you need to build into your budget to be prepared for more than 1 year? And with this being the TIF 1 rollout, are you better off to recognize the TIF increment and then get yourself in the practice of $1 million payment?
Well, it's 13.1 to
Mhm.
13.4. I think that's what we're gonna fall in at. So what is it gonna take to pay that off?
Right, and I'm looking at what can you do?
so 13 million at 6% over 10 years is $1.7 million.
Uh-huh.
A little bit higher.
I mean, can we, well, you can take it out if you want. I mean, are you wanting to get to $1 million?
20 years ago.
Yeah, 15 years is $1.3 million.
Mhm. Well, I was just bringing up the million number, thinking you're getting the tax increment from the TIF 1. What could you do that you would recognize that, but not materially impact the budgets for the other offices? If you do $1.7 million, for example, 700,000 or so, or a little more, would have to come from somewhere else.
Yeah, there's about $1 million, right, on TIF.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think, the 825, but that's based on the 21 TIF. I've asked Janice for a latest update on the TIF valuation, so we can take a current look at it.
One additional growth besides the TIF coming on.
I mean, million is probably 13 million for 20 years is 6% as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably a good number to work on.
So put 1.1 in there.
1.1?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, for the county commissioner expenses, you've got your,
Oh, man.
expenses for, liquor commissioner, the Redco, grant match. If you're looking at getting a new phone system, are you going to leave your service provider the same? Is the telephone expense okay? A good portion of the IT department is the contract with CDS. If they're going to be monitoring the phone system, do we need a material increase in that outside IT contract? So on the commissioner area of expenses, do you anticipate any material changes in those that I need to get built into your spreadsheet?
Would that fall under our category if we created a new department, say like HR? Or would that be a totally separate department?
It would be a subsection of your department,
Commissioners.
kind of like recycling, IT, those two areas.
I'd like to think that that'd be the direction that we need to go, is to create an HR department under the commissioners with established parameters. I know in the communication between that department and Ashley's department being top priority, working together to try to eliminate some of the problems that we've had with compensated absences, and overpayments, and everything else. So I'd like to maybe put a layer in there for that. I mean, that's just me. You know, I'm just speaking here, so.
I think, I agree with we need HR department. I think we've got an employee who needs to be streamlined to one department. I also think that the person that's over that department now is underpaid. I think we're gonna fall back. I don't know. I haven't talked to her, but I think we're gonna fall back to, she might want the security. If you start changing commissioners and here in and out the door the next 2, 4, 5, 5 years, will she still have a job, or if they want to put one of their relatives in here, or, you know, believe me, I've seen it. So she may want to stay under her. I don't know. I have not had that conversation. I'm just guessing. She wants, mostly wants security. So,
That's true.
I mean, unless you do some long-term contract or some
Some
security.
division is being a contract, that person would be a contract employee, like Alex or.
Yeah. I'm just saying, a normal person wants that.
Julie did share an email with me that she would be interested in it. She likes what she does, but she was looking for an increase.
No, I agree.
Because HR departments normally in big corporations or whatever, they start out pretty good. But let me get one thing out here real quick, because this has always kind of been in the back of my mind, maybe somebody else's too. So Brent brought a point. If we get new commissioners or a new board or whatever, for those that are non-union, or, you know, maybe even if you have a contract, say you don't even have a contract, can somebody come in and replace somebody for no reason? Well, is both. Union, I understand.
They're at will. Yes, they can be replaced.
But
Yeah, the unions cannot.
no, I get that. But for non-union people who are either at will, can someone come in and say, okay, you're gone, I'm bringing in my people? I'm under the impression that can't happen anymore. And I thought that there was some sort of public act that would prevent that anymore.
I would think.
That we used to not have years ago.
I go back to the same thing. I think if the union, no, if not union, they're at will.
That's a question for Rhett, but I would think that you'd have to have grounds to let somebody.
I would think-
Absolutely.
You'd have to have
You'll have a lawsuit from one end to the other.
Grounds.
You can't
You got
just let
like-
somebody go because you didn't vote for me. I'm ready.
Yeah, right. And actually, and Amanda have to do the same thing, I would think they do. If you write somebody up as verbal, you write somebody up as a written,
We have.
and you go to step, and then number 4 is adios. Is that what you do?
Now, am I mistaken
We don't
that,
have to though, because we're.
We don't have to,
This is-
but you.
But don't protect them from a lawsuit.
Yeah.
is this,
But yeah, actually, you couldn't walk in and say, hey, you didn't vote for me, you're gone.
Yeah, I don't like your color
But
shirt.
if you did, you'd wind up in
You were read the name, we're supposed to.
is this what's covered under the Hatch Act?
Traditionally, yes.
Okay. All right. So, well, with that being
It's a
said,
fitting name in it.
I'm all for creating an HR department, one that will work with actually the department, just because creating the department doesn't solve the problems. It's got laying out the parameters that And I know she does work with Marla now. They communicate all the time. I think it would be great if we had from the sheriff department that could, take care
It's
of,
large enough to have no job.
that would take care of, the benefits and pretty much what she's doing now. And give her a contract, or her/him contract. Right now, I think we're all thinking Julie, like what we've done for Brian and, for Kevin. So with that being said, right now, I guess, Julie would be at whatever her salary is right now. I don't know what it is, 40 some odd?
We probably shouldn't say that.
Okay, well. That's a policy. What? And establish that with that in mind. So I guess look at what the cost of establishing that department, whatever that would be.
Is this going to be a one-person department? Or would it be- So we're looking at 2 people. We need to define what this department's going to do.
Right. So how do you got any suggestion on how to go about looking at what the cost would be on that, and everything combined? I mean, as far as we're all thinking of Julie right now. Just put that out there, and she's got her own office right now, but she's Amanda's employee.
She's taking on more work, I think, that is more HR related. I think to address Tim's question, I think HR, City of Carville, I think it's a one-person deal.
Is this one?
I think it's pretty much
I think one-person deal. Unless you have something crazy happen, we have to pass mine on, but most of the cities.
But everything else would have to be put into her contract.
Yeah, that
all the
person is
parameters.
responsible for.
So basically,
And all that.
looking at a salary of about, 50?
So I would,
50?
just because I look and see what they're hiring in at.
And then for the other line items, are you thinking like office supplies, training and education?
That would all
Yeah,
need
you'd have
be
to have.
increased.
Okay. Do you have amounts in mind right now to throw into there?
Think about Celeste office. She had office supplies for like what, $2,000 or something like that, or.
Did she have continued ed or any of that? kind of
Yes, she
stuff?
did.
Because I would assume that Julie would have to have continued ed and everything else.
Just to get you started, I mean, do you want to do like 1,000 each on those lines and let you look at the sheet and perfect it a little?
Let's just start with that.
Okay.
And it's
Trying
time
to get those lines.
to talk to her, maybe we can get a better idea.
Yeah.
Looking at as far as training and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, this morning's phone,
Yeah, I thought,
I looked up at that and I
That's-
said, how could it be going on 1 o'clock?
yeah, well,
Time to fly, so you're having fun.
Yeah, we're having a
I
lunch.
really did, I thought it was a lot earlier. Huh. The clock still up fast, but I didn't change that.
Okay.
I wonder if Julie would have any idea about what she would need for continued ed.
Well, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I'd like her to have, since if that's the way we're headed.
How are the office supplies for her office based
Well-
now?
I just absorb it, or sometimes it's out of the commissioners, it depends on what she uses. I mean,
Okay.
most of the time, it's just paper. But she has some travel and stuff that she might end up going to. She's not quite done a lot of that because of COVID.
No, we welcome that, I can tell you all three, welcome. The smarter you get, better off we are.
Okay.
So Ken, let me just ask this. Maybe you guys know the answer to this. So base salary that she's making right now, would that then just be deducted from the county clerk's department and brought into ours?
You know what? I
Increase, is
guess
that how
we should
that works?
ask you if she performing any duties for you.
Yes, she does. Just, I mean, most of them are the HR duties is what she does. But she does help out in elections and different things. And she does our payroll.
He does.
So that would, then we would take that salary and everything from the county clerk.
I would think so.
And then make us the difference.
It's my line by that.
But you short-handed. Okay.
All right.
But sure, I'm glad I asked that question or not.
You come out a little weak like West, I
What about,
Put it in my place.
what about, our travel
on island.
and everything, Kim? Right now, what do we have that at?
Travel budget?
2,000 is the 2022 amount.
Has that gone over?
I think it did, and then that just. I don't know, they pay some of it, they pay the tax, I don't know.
The,
Sunday pay back.
the UCCI stuff, all that gets paid back. The county gets $400 every time we go to one of their meetings. They are now paying mileage as well. So based on, I believe was 60 some odd cents a mile or something, 60 plus a
Through
mile.
August, you expended 1370.63, so it's just 29.
So it's still under, they're paying.
That was for August 31st, so it'll be
1363,
1370.63.
and our total is
2,000.
2,000.
Yes, let's do that. I'm going to Peoria next week. The Hope Trust, so.
I would like to increase that at least to 4,000. Double that, if we have 2,000 limit.
Yeah, because I'm gonna go to a few of those next year.
Okay. 2 to 4?
Yes.
Right.
For an amount to transfer to retiree health insurance plan, that's really dependent upon future retirees. You know, you do budget an amount in the event you do have a participant. Do you want to leave that at the 2022 amount, which was 200,000?
That's fine with me, I mean, because
Okay. What about office supplies, dues, software, anything in that area, copier maintenance agreements?
where do we stand with that right now?
I think you're doing okay in those.
That's still hanging in there, good.
Do you need to increase postage since postage went up again?
I don't know that we would over last year. And if it has gone twice this year.
It's postage at,
Yeah, 105.
58, isn't it? 58.
No,
What is the stand, 58 then?
I don't know.
no, we were here just 60, isn't it?
No, it's 58. I think it's 58.
I think the forever stamps are even being
Recognized
now.
Forever stamps on
Hardly not.
5 years
Or
ago.
over.
I'm selling them now.
I still got some. Are they recognized, really? I
I
don't know.
don't know.
They don't have forevers left.
I didn't pay like 42 cents for them.
That's about how much I paid.
Let's put them up, get them up for sale.
So if we're okay, or well, with postage, we take an increase. Ballpark. What's postage at?
No, I mean, what's the,
25,
105.
Mhm.
17,000 left in there right now. I don't know if you did any other, I mean, that's through August.
they should be okay over there for the rest of the year. Because I just added like 1,000 to their account over there. here, we will add probably another 6,000. Maybe 12. So, I mean, it'll be. Something more minutes that are coming out there.
Well, I mean, I've got my
So,
certifieds, but that's in my budget, so it's not gonna come out of.
so we should figure what it needed to go to.
Well, I mean, if she says she's only gonna use 12 and she's under, and that's 5,000 under, and there's not another rate increase coming.
There's usually another rate increase.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to look up and see if I could find.
Oh, she just told me about one that's gonna be happening soon.
This year will be next week, I mean, you might increase it.
Let's just increase that by,
Well, $5,000 would be about a 5% increase.
$110?
110.
For commissioner salaries, is it 3%, 3%, 2%?
No, the new, rent salary will go 2%.
No, okay, 223. I don't know if First Circuit probation came in or not. We don't know what their general fund share is going to be till they turn in their budget. Do you want to leave it at last year's amount just for now?
that sounds good, just start out with.
Yeah.
Okay. And then on the county health insurance, want to put some factor in there to start with on an increase for county health insurance expenses?
You get notice.
I read it right. No, sir.
We're gonna have a meeting
Our people.
with our people, yeah. The 5th of October.
It did, do you know the time?
10:30 in the morning.
I voted 10.
No, it's to 1:15, 1:30.
1:30. I can't make it in the morning.
Julie sent me a message back saying.
I just said whatever. I didn't care. Or,
I can do it at 1:15.
was that right back fine? I wrote back fine, whatever.
I had it on my calendar at 1:30.
Okay.
I don't
All
care.
right.
August 5th.
All right, so it's August 5th. All right, we'll get that number,
Yeah, we go
next week.
I'm not seeing some of the doctors that are frequently used with this other group, but maybe I'm not doing what I'm doing.
Not next week, it'd be,
Be the first week of October.
October.
Anytime, son.
3 weeks.
but we can, start with the number that we have now.
2 weeks.
So to answer your question,
Okay. Now, the transfer for court security, the excess cost, I mean, the court security fund is not doing well. Okay, it's not improving. And with cash bail going away, I mean, that is the funding, court fines and fees are the funding source for court security. The amount for 22 was 50,000. Do you want to leave it at 50,000 or do you want to increase that?
Where are we at right now for 2022?
There's 52,969. I couldn't tell you what that is on a month, what last month was, because I don't have a general ledger. Anybody have it, or I can write it down and try to get it to you. Tell you the monthly balance. I mean, I haven't transferred the 50 yet. Now, we did transfer. Was it 30,000? I think I moved all of the, as a stopgap measure, moved all the what court security had paid in for unemployment, workers' comp, and,
Liability.
with liability, okay, and transferred all that back over into that trust fund. But again, that was a one-time deal that you approved, and we never established that that was like an ongoing thing. So we've gone reverted back to what it was for the last few months, but that would be something to figure out for the upcoming year. You just want to reimburse the salaries only, the wages, just like what like me and I do, and then levy for all the rest of it. Yeah, it would prop that up a little more than what it, you know.
That would make sense to me.
But, I mean, there was no like formal approval, and we had also talked about doing that for the upcoming year, of identifying which, those departments of what you're gonna do, what you're gonna expect them to reimburse.
Yeah.
So that way everybody has a clear understanding of what's what, and where, and everything else. So. Long story short, yes, probably need to put the 50 grand back.
But
I mean,
we got,
leave it in there like that
least-
for sure.
yeah, at least that much in there.
Okay. Okay.
I guess we'll have that discussion with the fees.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's.
Some of those fees
that-
we're gonna have to pay for.
Yeah, that flows in.
Yeah,
Is there? I got pretty much 1 o'clock right now. Can we take maybe a half an hour break for lunch? Maybe we'll keep going.
whatever you guys want to do.
I want to keep going for a while and just call it.
Let's go for another half hour.
We go get candy out.
Go get Chili's bowl of candy.
I'm not running out of time, too. I don't know what they got.
The caffeine's not doing it for Jim. He needs a piece of candy.
Okay.
All right.
Back to the outside IT services. The budget amount was 72,990. If you're going to be encountering or incurring, services for telephone, whether it's that line or a different line, do we need to increase something?
I think probably we're going to look at increasing it. What that number would be, I have no idea. I would say let's leave it at that right now, or if you want to add in 100 grand, is that too high? 50 grand?
What are we, 5,200 a month? Is that what we are? Is that what you said?
The amount in there this year was 72,990.
It's a $6 grand a month.
Mm-hmm.
You got you said just one.
Two.
Let's increase it by at least 50 grand, I would say.
Well, right now.
No, I'm good. Anyway, thank you.
What about internet fees?
Hold on, Kim, I'm looking, I've got 95, 65, 16 is what we've been paying. Or what we paid for outside IT last month.
It went
How
up
many
just here recently.
Yeah.
They added something on the sheriff's department.
Yeah, they did a mid-year change on that.
So got rid of 120 grand.
Okay. We're at 120.
Well, I mean, mine is $600, we're pretty big.
So you want the 120 plus 50?
I'd say at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did a mid-year change. Was that for the multi-factor authentication issue?
I think
Yes, it
that's
was.
exactly what it is.
Okay,
I don't know someplace else, but if it's in this line, we'll deal with it here.
yeah, it would have been in that line. They're paying for that. What about internet fees? Are those going to change?
I think those are going to
Actually,
be
they're
holding
gonna be a little
steady.
bit
Lower, but I'll keep it the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
keep it the same. It's a little bit forward.
Okay. Okay, is there anything materially happening with general assistance? Is the 9,000 okay for the monthly assistance with housing?
stayed the same.
You're okay with it? Okay, stay time on
And recycling, do you want to leave the amounts in there for what you had last year?
No,
Let's drop recycling.
Drop it
Half
down.
What it was.
it. How was,
We had 26, I think, last year.
we do have a contract, I think it's at 10-6. Everything's taken care of, everything's paid for.
like,
Right now?
12, 15?
Yeah, I think
Just make
15.
it,
We think June 15.
I was gonna say 12.
12,
I mean, I don't know why would you wanna make it 15?
just in case something pops
Just look at
up.
what happens, but 12, I was,
I mean-
15, I don't care, 12, 12, fine. We get up in. Well, service, you're fine.
Okay, did you get an answer out of that?
Well, what I got out of that was maybe 12,000 for contracted services and then everything else is gone.
Yeah,
Is that what you like?
yeah.
Okay,
Now, let me ask you a question.
sure.
The recycling truck that we have, that truck technically belongs to the highway department? You know?
Well, the truck belongs to the county. It's not titled highway.
Well, I get that, but I mean, was it under their auspice, their department? Because if something needed to be done to that truck, does it still fall back on us or does it go back to being paid out of the highway department's budget?
No, it would come back to you.
I don't know what would go wrong with the truck. I mean, we still use the truck,
Amanda uses it still.
so.
And if there's something that goes wrong when I've got it, I usually take.
How did you do last time? You do okay?
It broke down on us. We were coming back on 37, it broke down on the side of the road. I came in town, to look for a, U-Haul to rent.
I was just getting ready to suggest.
I don't know, Travis came to the rescue, the highway department, and they fixed it for us.
Why don't we, because you could get a 26-foot box truck from Rental, or from, U-Haul. Would that be better?
Well, does the truck have that Tommy was talking about?
Yeah.
Well, you
Yeah,
know,
right now.
That was a $9,000 truck, so.
The truck is very beneficial to us, it really is. But I don't think it's
I'm just
costing you
saying,
guys money right now, is it, the truck?
I just know you use it for election. And I'm just saying, if there's an expense for the truck, would it fall under still under the recycling? Or would it fall under a different category?
Elections.
She's on one you.
Which is us, okay. All right, so it all
All
comes
comes
back
back
to
in.
us.
Yes.
Okay.
But make it out.
Depends on what line.
I mean, no more they call, are you better off going to Frontier to get a U-Haul versus let's let this thing sit all year long and then you have problems every time you go out.
Exactly.
That's the point of it, it's not my fault, but
Well, now that it's not being used at all.
what's the winter time is?
But the advantage that truck has is got that Tommy on the back, where a U-Haul truck may
And I
not.
think there was a couple of departments that used it, before I got it back at election time, I forget who, it was the sheriff's office maybe?
I think maybe.
Somebody was using it, I don't know how much use it's getting.
So. Can you rent a truck with a Tommy lift on the back? Is a Tommy lift necessary?
If we don't have it, the guys I hire will just have to live.
That has a rank.
Yeah, I'll have to rent for some of it, so.
The other, that's what you see.
Yeah. No, I get it. That's.
And I don't even know
So
what
I'm
it costs to
saying,
rent a U-Haul for that length of time, I mean, you're looking at about a 2-week period.
so then, getting back
Lots of
to this
miles.
issue of the recycling budget, do you want to keep it 12 or just in case, or, or you want to keep a separate line item for truck expense or
I think we'd make a separate line for truck expense.
But we're not really using it for that.
Because we're not using it for recycling.
We're not using it, period.
No, it's just a convenience factor, really.
You could also use contingency if that would work in your minds.
Okay, I mean, I know we
I'm
could.
trying to leave it 12, but.
Okay, let's just leave it at 12 and then, like I said, we'll just use contingency, whatever we have to do, to get whatever repair needed, if we use that truck.
Okay.
You just can't leave it at zero.
What did we have for recycling before? Was it 25?
About 25, yeah. Mhm. The other, I think, two topics that will impact the spreadsheet would be the tax levy and also the fines and fees. So for the tax levy, do you have a thought in mind on revenue sharing, non-revenue sharing for the TIF 1 increment?
Well, I know that we have to make sure that the highway department receives what they need to for match, I guess, so they don't get knocked out of any federal money.
Okay.
As far as everything else, what are your guys' thoughts? We didn't share with anyone other than the highway department last year. Is that how we did it?
Right. And the year before,
Year
it was
before?
the same because of the concern about COVID and how it would impact your revenues.
Correct. So you guys want to keep it the same?
That would be,
Okay,
I think that's what,
keep it the same then,
just,
like what we did last year.
Okay.
Did last year, yeah.
Okay. Now, while we're on the tax levy, when it comes to the levy and the amount for the publication, I gave you a breakdown worksheet that started at a 13.5% increase, which would include the CPI plus the TIF 1, plus the traditional new property, plus an extra percent for board of review and other. What are your feelings on the 13.5%?
What did we have it last year?
Well, last year, reality, so this is reality versus what you're going to put in the publication,
Right.
was about 4.5% last year, where this looks like reality of a realized increase would be 13.5.
Right.
Last year's publication was about 8%, I think.
8%, I was thinking.
Right.
So at 13, I think that would probably be pretty good.
Okay, well,
Well, okay, that's what's coming in about the increase, 13.
that would be realization rate. Yeah.
All right, then we need to go higher. So I'd say maybe 18.
Well, 18 is the example I happen to give you on that spreadsheet.
yeah,
You know, as that publication reads, it reads, the Williamson County Board of Commissioners is increasing its tax levy 18%. It reads horribly. But if the wording is not exact, then it's not going to be valid. So I just want to know your wish there on.
Yeah, it's like you said, you can't do anything about it. Let's just make it 18%, I think. Is that all right with you? You guys think anything different?
yeah.
I mean,
I'm looking at these numbers, and CPI is already said, isn't it?
Well, you got 5%, because it's over, but I mean, your maximum is 5.
5%, that's, the other stuff is, I don't see how we can't do it.
18.
Okay. Now, when it comes to the realization rate of the 13.5%, what's your feeling on that? Is that too high? Is that too low?
Well,
It's too low.
You think it's too low?
Well, Kim's got it starred. she's right. She needs to get a new TIF calculation from Janice to see where we stand. Because if it's, I mean, significantly higher than this 44 million, then it's going to make it.
It's going to be higher.
I don't think it's gone down. I can't imagine.
No, it would have only gone up.
Yeah. So I mean, that's where you'll need to see. I mean, if it says it's 55 million, well then maybe 18 is not enough.
18 may not be enough.
But I mean, that's, you're going to be dependent on what that is.
So why don't we just kind of throw something in there now until she hears back?
Well, I mean, the 13 and a half is a good baseline.
Starting point.
That's a good baseline.
I mean, she's done it all.
Okay.
Okay.
So what I'm doing here is I'm kind of looking, and I put in those changes to do no sharing with like the U of I, senior citizen, child advocacy, and so on. And so when I do that, that share then gets put up in the general fund. Okay. When it comes to Social Security, Medicare, IMRF, do you want those particular funds to have an increase from their prior year amounts? And I'm just thinking of, keeping consistent with when you have higher wages, you're going to have raises, right? So while our IMRF rates are easing up a little bit, eventually you're going to see some increases just because, you have a higher percentage of a higher wage is a higher number.
So the question once again is,
Sure. Do you want any increase in the lines for Social Security, Medicare, IMRF, or do you want all of that increase to go to the general fund?
we ought to increase those. I think so.
Okay, just to keep pace with wages going up and things of
Yeah.
that. Okay, all right. Now, so that changed. I don't know if you're looking at the spreadsheet I sent you, but without revenue sharing in some of those areas and moving that to the general fund, that share or that 13.5% increase goes to 1,436,000 and some change. Okay, now the reason I bring that up, that 1,436,000 increase in the general fund levy, and that's a realizable number. That's not the 18%. That's what we think you're really going to get. We were looking at, do you want to use that for debt? Since that's 1,436,000, do you want to go back and talk about your debt payment number? It was not that high when we were talking an hour ago about it.
Yep.
Okay, now I just got the TIF 1 valuation report, just hot off the press here. Miss Janice just emailed me. Oh, it is a higher number. I will forward this to everybody. It is a 46,488,000 number. Let me forward this on. So is my question making sense? Since you're recognizing 1.4 of an increase, do you want to change that 1.1 number at all, or are you happy with 1.1?
So I just got a text from, I started inquiring about what a potential bond rate would be. Right now, ballpark is at 4.5. So in a 20 year, it makes it like $1 billion. It's like 999, 775. So I don't know if you need to go up. And that's on 13 million. So I don't know if you need to go up that high unless you're just wanting to carry on the side of the column.
Yeah, we're at 1.1 right now.
First based off of the current rate.
But you said maybe 1.3 might be just in the 15 year.
$13 million or 13.4 million. We're going to max that thing out.
I don't anticipate it's going all the way up to that 13.4.
So stay at 13 million.
Say 13.1 or 13.2.
So 13.2 for 20 years is $1,015,000. For 15 years is 1.2 million, $1,230,000. You want me to tell you what 12 and 10 is? Or you want me to stop there?
No, I think if you guys can go and keep it at 1-1. Yeah.
You want to keep it at 1-1?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Okay, so I will bring up the notice closer to time to publish it and make sure you're still content with how that reads. And if for any reason there's anything that modifies that 13.5% to be a different number, what you'll want to do is reach out to Alex and see if he can provide you the new property estimate and any other items, coming out of order review. Jeff in the past has been able to say, well, based on what we've input so far during the year, here's what your new property percentage is estimated to be. And maybe that number for things going on we're not thinking about is a 4% number. We won't know unless they check and see between January 1 and today what they've input that counts as new property. There seems to be a lot of activity, residential, commercial, that kind of thing. So, maybe that number is going to be a percentage at this point is a pretty big number. 1 percentage point may not feel like a lot, but it is. Okay, so which one of you is going to reach out to Alex and check on new property percentages?
Ken will.
Okay.
Ken's more than happy to.
Okay.
I just didn't think about it, keep it running.
Okay. So we'll come back before things are finalized. And
Kim, what did you say that was? New property, what?
new property and any other board of review change that will be considered new property. I think they may be able to run a report that shows, the new property, how it's coded and can give you an estimate in the form of a percentage. Okay. Ashley, did you look at the TIF1 report?
I didn't know. I mean, I can look at it here. I was just going off your 2 million number, and that was whatever, $33,000 extra. Well, that was,
Yeah. Okay. Got it. You get the same answer either way. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I will save the changes there on the levy. Discussion. And I'm going to go back here. Okay. So then on fines and fees, the board approves and adopts the fine and fee schedule for the court system. And so I don't know if Stephanie was able to give you the latest one you passed. Steve Green called and said, he doesn't believe law library needs to be that high. He recommended lowering that rate. He had no input on where to put that overage. He indicated that would be up to the board. So in looking at that, a reduction for that would go somewhere else. And then in looking at that, since you're looking at making a change, is there anything else there that you think, well, while we're doing it, we'll take care of a couple things at one time?
You mean like per department or? What, I'm not quite sure. By a couple.
You should have a whole list of fines and fees in front of you, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say just look at them all.
Okay. Now, you'd mentioned maybe going another 30 minutes, and we're 21 minutes into that 30-minute slot. And so you may want to look through that fine and fee schedule. We may need to, get some background for you on what is this, where does this go, just to make sure you're comfortable with what this document even means. But basically what this document does is when somebody pays a fine or fee, this is where the fee, I call it a spider web effect. They pay $50 and it's split between 25 different funds. $1 goes here, $3 goes there. And so this is what the clerk uses to take a traffic fee or a filing fee and divvy it up amongst all the other funds.
So just on the first one, the civil fees, it says the $307 be divided as follows. It goes on about circuit court, state treasurer, and the county treasurer. The state treasurer aspect of it, do we have any control over that as well, or not? Does the state set those parameters? So it says access to the justice fund, $2. $11 to be remitted to the state treasurer and deposited as follows. Who says the $11?
Yeah, on that, I think what we may need to do is take a look at the statute itself so that we understand anything that's mandated to go to the state, that you may not have control over. You may only have control over what would go to your local funds, which would be, the state's attorney automation, public defender automation, law library, court assessment. So I can pull the statute, and you may want somebody from the state's attorney's office, legal counsel to look at that and give you guidance on which of those numbers you can change so that you're comfortable before you do that.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that we have the ability to do that.
Correct. Right. And I think that's a good thing.
It looks like it's just, I don't know.
And there's a lot of information. How we decide.
Yeah. I think on this, what we need to do, I think Stephanie just gave this one out to us right before we got here. Maybe it'll give us a little bit of time to go through this on our own.
Sure.
Look, and then we come back, say tomorrow or something, or Wednesday, and then address this. But I do think right now, we're all in favor of looking at this and probably addressing, making some modifications to it.
Okay.
Way.
Okay.
And then we'll just probably go down the list. In the meantime, I think we can find out about that question that I just proposed about the state treasurer about $11 or something
Right.
like that.
Well, do you want to also forward that document to whether it's Red or somebody else that's assigned and say, you know, we're looking at potentially making a change here, at least for the law library, and maybe get input of that's allowable, that's doable, just to get him going on looking at this document as well?
Sure.
Okay. You know, when it comes to fines and fees, we are going to have to start the conversation about what no more cash bail means. A good portion of your fines and fees coming from the county clerk's office actually come as what they call a bond reclass, where, you know, someone is arrested and they have to provide cash bail. And then when the case is adjudicated, then their $150 or $300 bond or whatever it is reclassed to be paid toward their fines and fees. And so if there's no fine or fee, if there's no bond to reclass into fines and fees, that means you're going to have a much smaller amount of cash available to distribute. It's very difficult to tell you when people are going to pay their fines and fees. Being assessed a fine or fee is not the same as someone paying a fine or fee. So I think you have to expect that your fines and fees coming from the county clerk's office are going to be impacted. Now, there are probably 3 years of court cases that have cash bail that will need to progress through time. And so you won't see an immediate drop January 1, but you will see the reduction starting, because there are people who are traditionally, like, they've been arrested in 22, well, their cases were resolved, and so there was an immediate distribution of that. So you won't see any of that effect. So you may see a 20% drop in 23, and then a 50% drop in 24 as these cases are cleaned out. And eventually you're going to feel the full impact of no cash bail. And so in looking at, you know, what to do with fines and fees, you know, the general fund is dependent on a dollar amount of income. So again, we're talking about how are you going to replace your revenue source? I would estimate when the cash bail is gone, the full impact on the general fund will probably be at least $500,000. So I think that's about the revenue source. You need to look at a plan to replace that revenue source. The general fund will not become less dependent. You know, the expenses, unless there is some type of staff reduction, will remain the same plus more for raises each year. So maybe, you know, in looking at everything and trying to keep revenue replacement in mind, because, you know, that's going to be a problem in the near future.
Okay.
Let me see if there's anything else here. There's no change in animal control fees, registration fees, or anything, right?
That's
We
it.
haven't made it.
Okay. The court assessment reimbursement, is that going to carry forward into 2023 or no?
I think this is it. Or this fiscal year was it.
You talking about the $100,000?
Yeah, the $100,000
Yeah, that's not gonna happen again.
not going to happen in 23.
No,
I don't think so.
no.
Okay.
I also requested that as you're looking at that, that you stop on this court assessment fee time.
Yes.
But he did say he was more than willing to, you know, help out
Be a team.
if necessary, but, because I said, well, this is right. No,
He's been,
he wanted that
He's been generous.
He's done his
He's
share.
good along.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. For fines and fees, just to get your spreadsheet going, do you want to use the same numbers as in 22? Or do you want the same numbers with a 10% reduction? What would you like to do there?
Until we know something.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Let's just
Keep it the same.
keep it the same for right now.
Sure. Okay. I can do
But we have that in mind.
Okay.
Trying to come up with that, looking forward to the, replace the revenue source from the absence of no cash back.
Okay. Is there anything else that you think needs special attention other than what we've talked about that would need to be built in anywhere?
Nothing I can think of.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't see your text.
Just get some information hot off the
Third
press.
copies. Well, that's just on that tip.
Was that a new, today?
New tip. They should all be the same.
Hot off the press. Man, this is exciting. We got mail.
Last page is 46, 48, 6.
Mhm. Yeah. And it may go up a little more, just depending on work that's done before December 31st of 22, you know, so it may go up a little more. There may be a little bit of lag in getting everything keyed in, you know, to the system, so. Okay, so I think that then with the office holders coming in tomorrow, starting tomorrow anyway,
It's our first one
And 12, 9 o'clock.
at 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock tomorrow.
We got 5 things, say.
We're gonna start at 9 o'clock
6
tomorrow.
about.
Okay.
okay.
20, 30 stuff. Yes.
Yeah, I'm second.
So
Oh, gee. Great.
Rip that Band-Aid off right away. Hang on.
we're 9 o'clock tomorrow and then Wednesday also, right?
Yes.
Both days.
Okay, so I will work on filling in the spreadsheet. You want the spreadsheet built initially with the employees being paid from the fee funds to stay there, at least initially, for you to look at it like that. Okay. Okay,
Yes.
is there anything else you want to go over before we wrap up today?
I'm good.
I'm good.
All right. Did we decide, I mean, did we settle on the publication number at 18, or did we decide it should be higher?
My observation was
Publication.
the 18 was okay, but I was going to circle back one more time.
Okay. Well, that's just starting.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay, then I guess that's all for today. And we'll look at this and I'll get in touch with Brett about anything else that we can or can't modify on this, on the fine fees.
Yeah.
I'll try to have that by tomorrow. Yeah, 10. You're gonna check with Alex on new property.
We'll check the price.
All right.
Now, Tim, what might help you is,
What's
what might help you with Alex is in my email to you, I sent you the final rate sheets for 21-22. So on page 2 of that document, there's a line called new property. So that tells me that there's a coding process there to identify new property. And so if you show him this final rate sheet, and he may then have an easier time to know where to look and pull that number for you. But there's something in the software that is coded new property that puts that number here. And the prior year rate sheet is there too. That number in the prior year was 20 million. So you can see there's quite a bit more, going on in new property. So that number may be, 5 or 6 million higher this time. We just don't know till you ask the question. When it comes to fund balance minimums, we'll run those and show you where you're at according to your policy versus what the current amount is.
Yes.
I think look at your fund balance minimum policy and see, is there anything there that you feel you need a change on?
We signed so many things, does it matter?
That sounds good, Kim.
Okay.
Anything else, guys?
So we're gonna recess, reconvene tonight and tomorrow morning.
Yes.
Motion.
Jim Harlow.
Yeah.
Rick Gentry.
Okay.
And Matt Gibson.
All right. Thanks, Kim.
Yes, and reconvene.
Ashley,
Yes.
I will give you a call here. I'll give you a respective amount of time to get something to eat if you want, but I'll call you on your question you emailed me
Okay, all right,
or text me, whatever it was.
all right, thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye, Stephanie.
I may have to still email this to you, because they emailed it to me, but electronic.
Will you sign these?
Like, DocuSign.
It's taking a while.
If you tell me.
There's that and then
Do
the
that,
next page.
I'll to
There's 3 of them.
sign that, but otherwise. Scan it, so-
Okay.